My sister said, "You will always live in my shadow." Now she lives in my basement because I bought the house she wanted. I couldn't sleep the night she said it. My name's Daniel, 32, male, and I swear those words, "You'll always live in my shadow," are carved into my skull. My sister, Lauren, 34, female, spat them at me like venom during one of those family dinners where the wine runs out too early, and patience even earlier. Lauren has always been the star. Cheer captain in high school, sorority president in college, now some PR director who posts about brand synergy like she invented the concept. She's magnetic in that way that people forgive her cruelty because she says it with a perfect smile and $200 highlights. I was the quiet one. I fix things. Cars, wiring, furniture, stuff you don't notice unless it breaks. Our parents used to introduce us as our daughter, the achiever, and our son, the helper. And Lauren leaned into it. Every milestone I hit, she'd outshine. I got a decent job as a mechanic. She bought a condo in the city. I got engaged once. She had the kind of wedding where people still talk about the floral arch. When it collapsed, she cried like the universe had personally betrayed her. That dinner, the whole family circled around Lauren's latest obsession. This house. A two-story brick colonial on Maple Lane. The kind of place that ends up in lifestyle magazines. She called it her forever home. The problem? It was also my dream home. I'd been quietly saving for years, patching cars in the summer heat and doing side jobs at night. I'd driven past that house dozens of times, imagining myself there. When I finally admitted out loud that I was going to put in an offer, she laughed. "Daniel, you're cute. But that house, that's not for you. That's for people like me. You'll always live in my shadow." The table chuckled nervously, like it was just sibling banter. But my chest burned. I didn't argue. I just kept eating while my jaw clenched so hard I thought I'd crack a tooth. Inside, though, something shifted. I was done playing the background character in her movie. 2 weeks later, I signed the papers. I bought the house, my house, the one she wanted so badly. And here's the part that feels like a cosmic joke. 3 months later, she was begging to move in because her marriage was imploding and she had nowhere else to go. Now, Lauren, my golden child sister who swore I'd always live in her shadow, is living in my basement, and I make damn sure she hears every creak of my boots on the floor above her. Lauren moved in on a Tuesday. I stood in the driveway watching her unload boxes from the back of a rented U-Haul, mascara smeared down her face, her designer coat wrinkled and stained. This wasn't the version of Lauren I was used to. She looked small, almost human. For a second, I almost pitied her. Then she opened her mouth. "God, Daniel, couldn't you at least mow the lawn before I got here? It looks like a jungle. What will the neighbors think?" The pity evaporated instantly. Same Lauren, different backdrop. Her marriage had blown up. Her husband, Eric, apparently walked out after years of cheating scandals and screaming matches she'd hidden behind filtered Instagram posts. Their condo sold out from under her in the divorce, and she had nowhere else to go. When she called me, her voice cracked in a way I'd never heard before. She said, "Please, I just need time to get back on my feet." Against my better judgment, I said yes. But I didn't clear a guest room for her. I showed her the basement, concrete floors, one narrow window, and the hum of the furnace. "It's temporary," I said. "This is all I can spare." She looked at me like I'd just offered her a spot under a bridge. "You expect me to live down here? Like some troll?" I shrugged. "You said you needed a place. This is what I've got." That night, as I lay upstairs in my own bed, I heard her stomping around below me. Doors slamming, drawers opening. A muffled sob that turned into something harsher, like anger swallowed down with spit. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was in her shadow. I felt like she was in mine. But the thing about Lauren, she doesn't stay humbled for long. By the second day, she was rearranging my fridge shelves for efficiency, leaving wet towels on my bathroom floor because the basement shower is gross, and casually dropping lines like, "It's funny you bought this house when I'm the one who always wanted it." Every comment was a reminder that even in her lowest moment, she couldn't let me have the win. But here's the detail that made me pause. She started having people over, not friends, strangers. Men I didn't know, staying too long, their voices echoing up through the vents late into the night. Once I found an empty wine bottle on the porch that wasn't mine. Another time, a stranger came upstairs and asked where the bathroom was. I told Lauren she needed to stop. She just smiled that same razor smile and said, "Relax, Daniel. It's my house too for now." No, no, it wasn't. And something inside me, something I'd been burying for years, was itching to remind her of that. The first real crack came one Saturday morning. I'd been working overtime at the shop all week and was looking forward to sleeping in. Instead, I woke up to the smell of bacon and the sound of laughter. For half a second, I thought maybe Lauren had decided to be decent and make breakfast as a thank you. But when I walked into the kitchen, I froze. Some random guy was sitting at my table, shirtless, eating off my plates. Lauren was standing at the stove in one of my old college sweatshirts, acting like this was her place. "Morning, Daniel," she said sweetly, without even turning around. "This is Josh. He's crashing here for a bit." I didn't even know what to say. My jaw just locked. Josh, some wannabe musician with greasy hair and a tattoo of a broken microphone on his forearm, grinned at me like we were roommates. "Yo, man, great house, real homie." My blood boiled. "Lauren, can I talk to you? Now?" We stepped into the hall and I hissed, "You can't just invite strangers to live here. This is my house. My rules." Her smile didn't falter. If anything, it sharpened. "Relax, he's not living here. He's just staying with me, in my space. Remember? You said the basement is mine." "That's not how this works," I snapped. "You're here temporarily. Don't test me." She just smirked and walked back in like I hadn't said a word. By the time Josh finally left 2 days later, after draining half my beer supply and leaving his dirty socks in the laundry room, I was seething. And Lauren? She looked at me like she'd won some invisible contest. That's when it started spiraling. She began using the basement as her own personal crash pad for a revolving door of friends. Guys who parked crooked in my driveway, girls who blasted music at 2 a.m., people who treated my living room like a lounge. I'd come home from work to find my fridge raided, my couch occupied, my TV remote missing. When I confronted her, she always had an excuse. "Oh, Daniel, don't be so uptight. They're just keeping me company. You're acting jealous because I have a social life." Jealous. That word was her favorite knife to twist. But the final straw that week? I came home to find one of my framed photos shattered on the floor. It was a picture of me and Dad from years ago, fishing at the lake. The glass was cracked, the frame bent, and Lauren just shrugged when I held it up. "Stuff happens," she said. "Maybe don't put your little memories where they can fall." That's when I realized she wasn't just being careless. She was trying to erase me. In my own house. And as much as it made my skin crawl, a part of me smiled inside, because I knew something she didn't. I was already planning how to turn her games against her. The breaking point didn't come with shouting. It came quietly, like a knife sliding under the skin. It was Wednesday night and I came home late after a 12-hour shift. My boots were heavy with grease, my hands aching. All I wanted was a hot shower and silence. But when I opened the door, music blasted through the house. My living room, was full of strangers again. Beer cans on the table, smoke in the air, Lauren standing in the middle like she was the hostess of some college frat party. "Daniel!" she shouted over the music like I was some kind of honored guest. "Don't be weird, join us." I didn't even look at her. I just went to the kitchen, opened the fridge, and found it empty except for half a lime and a sticky jar of pickles. My food, gone. That's when I noticed it. My leather jacket. The one Dad gave me on my 21st birthday. It was draped over some random guy's shoulders like a costume. He was laughing, spilling beer down the sleeve. Something in me snapped. I crossed the room, yanked it off him, and the whole party froze. "Out," I said. My voice was low, steady. "All of you. Now." A few people shuffled toward the door, but Lauren stepped in front of me, blocking the way, her eyes blazing. "Don't embarrass me, Daniel. This is my house too." That word again, my, like she could steal it just by saying it enough. I leaned in close so only she could hear. "No, Lauren, it's mine. You live in my basement. Don't ever forget it." Her face twisted, somewhere between rage and panic. She grabbed the jacket from my hands and hurled it onto the floor, the sound of glass crunching under it as a bottle shattered. Then she screamed, not words, just raw frustration, before storming out of the house with half her guests trailing behind. The silence afterward was worse than the music. My jacket lay there, soaked in beer, glass shards glinting around it. I stared at it for a long time, my chest tight, and then I knew. I couldn't just kick her out. She'd play the victim, spin it so I was the cruel brother. No, if I wanted this to end, I needed to end it my way. And the irony? Lauren had already given me the perfect weapon. That basement, the space she hated, the one she called a dungeon. It was about to become the stage for my revenge. Update. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. I posted a few days ago about my sister Lauren, 34, female, moving into my basement after telling me I'd always live in her shadow. And now she's throwing parties in my house like she's running a damn Airbnb. I read through a lot of your comments. Some of you were hilarious. Bro, charge her rent in emotional damages, made me spit my coffee. Others were brutal, like the one guy who DM'd me saying, evict her like your pest control, no warnings, just extermination. And honestly, not far off. But the most common piece of advice was, get proof, don't let her spin this. And holy hell, you guys are right. Because if there's one thing Lauren's good at, it's rewriting history. She's done it our whole lives, crying in front of our parents until somehow I was the bully, the screw-up, the ungrateful one. I know if I just kick her out, she'll find a way to make me look like the villain. So here's what I did. I started documenting everything. Photos of the mess she leaves, videos of the parties. I even recorded audio of her screaming at me the other night when I tried to shut it down. If she wants to drag me into a story, I'm going to make damn sure it's the unedited version. And this part's for the people who said, stop being passive, take control of your house. Yeah, I hear you, loud and clear. Because last night, as I was cleaning up shattered glass from my ruined jacket, I realized something. I've been letting Lauren live upstairs rent-free in my head just like she's living rent-free in my basement. That stops now. I have a plan. And it's not just kicking her out. It's making sure she never forgets whose shadow she's living in now. Let's just say it involves the basement she hates so much, and the fact that Lauren cares more about appearances than anything else in the world. I'll update again soon once I pull the trigger. And for the record, to the person who said, make sweet revenge poetic, don't worry. I've got something lined up that even she won't be able to spin. The next few days, I stopped confronting Lauren. I just let her think she was winning. She strutted around the house like she owned it, tossing her laundry into my hamper, leaving her half-eaten salads on the counter, inviting more strangers into my living room. Normally, I'd snap, but this time, I stayed calm, quiet. I think that scared her more than yelling would have. Because Lauren thrives on chaos. When I stopped giving her reactions, she started escalating. Friday night, I came home and found my bedroom door open. My room, the one place I thought was safe. My dresser drawers were pulled out, clothes tossed everywhere, my old journals scattered on the floor. Lauren was sitting on my bed with a glass of wine, flipping through one of them. God, Daniel, you were such a pathetic teenager, she said, without even looking up. These little drawings, these whiny entries, no wonder everyone liked me better. I wanted to rip the book out of her hands. Instead, I took a picture. Proof. Then I walked out without a word, leaving her sitting there like she hadn't expected me to just let her hang herself. That night, I put phase 1 of my plan in motion. See, the basement had always been her sore spot. She hated it. The damp concrete, the hum of the furnace, the single bare bulb that flickered when it got too humid. She'd called it a dungeon more than once, but I knew that for Lauren, appearances mattered more than comfort. And I was going to use that against her. I installed a couple of discreet security cameras in the basement and living room. Nothing fancy, just enough to catch her in action. And then I started setting the stage. Every time she left her mess upstairs, I moved it back down. Dirty dishes, basement sink, empty bottles, basement shelf, laundry, dumped neatly on the floor by her mattress. I made it so the basement looked like her chaos had consumed her, even though most of the destruction was hers to begin with. And then the final touch. I told her I was having a few friends over Sunday night. Just a small get-together, nothing big. Her face tightened, like she hated the idea of me having a life outside of her orbit. Fine, she said, but keep them out of my space. Her space, the basement. She had no idea what was coming. Because on Sunday, those friends weren't just anyone. They were people Lauren would hate to be seen by in that state. And all the chaos she'd tried to drag me into, I was about to drag her down with it. Sunday came faster than I expected, and I was wired the whole day. Lauren must have sensed it because she was unusually quiet. No parties, no strangers, no wine glasses left on my nightstand. Just silence, like she was waiting to see what I'd do. At 6 p.m., the doorbell rang. Lauren was in the kitchen, scrolling her phone. She didn't even look up until she heard the voices. I'd invited 3 people. Not random friends, people who mattered to her reputation. First was our Aunt Marianne, the one who always bragged about Lauren's accomplishments to anyone who'd listen. Second was my mom's old friend Carol, who worked in the same PR circles as Lauren and had always worshipped her career woman image. And third, the kicker, was Eric, her ex-husband. Lauren froze when she saw him step inside, holding a six-pack awkwardly like he wasn't sure why he'd agreed to come. Her face went pale, then red, then pale again. "Daniel, what the hell is this?" she hissed. "Family dinner," I said simply, and guided everyone toward the table I'd set. It was perfect theater. The wine poured, the small talk started, and Lauren tried to paste on that perfect hostess smile she used to own. But she was unraveling. I could see her eyes darting toward the basement door every time I steered the conversation closer to her living arrangements. Finally, I stood. "Actually," I said, my voice steady, "I think it's time I showed everyone something." I walked to the basement door and opened it. The smell hit immediately: wine, sweat, dirty laundry, and the sight? Chaos. The cameras had been catching it all week, but now it was staged in one brutal snapshot. Clothes scattered, empty bottles stacked like trophies, the mattress half off the frame, her mess everywhere. I stepped aside. "This," I said, "is where Lauren's been living." The silence was electric. Aunt Marianne gasped. Carol actually covered her mouth. And Eric, God, the smirk on his face said everything. Lauren snapped. "You set me up," she shrieked, shoving her chair back so hard it toppled. "You're jealous, Daniel. You always have been. You think this makes you look good? You think this makes you better than me?" Her voice cracked, tears streaming down her face, but she wasn't crying from sadness. It was rage, humiliation. She grabbed a plate and hurled it against the wall, shards exploding across the dining room. Everyone flinched, and I just stood there, calm. For once, I wasn't the one looking small. "Get out," I said softly. "You don't live here anymore." She looked around the table, desperate for someone to defend her. No one did. She stormed downstairs, gathering armfuls of clothes and trash bags, screaming the whole time. And the cameras, still recording. By the time she left that night, slamming the door so hard a picture frame fell off the wall, Lauren wasn't the golden child anymore. She was just a mess in everyone's eyes. And I swear, for the first time in my life, I felt taller than my sister. Update 2. Well, that escalated. If you read my last post, you know I set up my sister Lauren, a 34 female, by inviting family and her ex over, then showing everyone the disaster zone she'd turned my basement into. I thought it'd just be awkward. I didn't expect nuclear meltdown. Y'all weren't kidding when you said she'd lose it if cornered. The plate throwing, the screaming about me being jealous, that was just the beginning. After she stormed out, I honestly felt this insane mix of relief and guilt. Relief because for once, people saw her the way I've seen her my whole life. Guilt because she's still my sister. I didn't sleep that night, just kept replaying it. Then the messages started. First, from Carol, my mom's PR friend. "Daniel, I had no idea Lauren was in that state. You did the right thing." That floored me. Carol used to worship her. Then from Eric, her ex-husband. Damn, guess it wasn't just me. Petty, but it made me laugh. But the kicker? Aunt Marianne. The same aunt who always bragged about Lauren. She called me in tears saying she was ashamed for ever making me feel second best. That one hit hard. I didn't even know what to say. And Reddit. Holy hell, you guys. My inbox is full. Some of you are treating me like I just pulled off Ocean's 11 with a basement instead of a casino. Others are warning me she's going to come back harder than ever. A few of you even said, "Don't celebrate yet. People like Lauren don't go quietly." And you're right. Because last night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of pounding on my front door. It was Lauren, drunk, mascara-streaked, screaming that I'd ruined her life. She threatened to call the cops, said I was holding her stuff hostage, that I'd stolen her reputation. I didn't open the door, I just filmed the whole thing through the peephole. Eventually, she stumbled off, but I know this isn't over. If there's one thing about my sister, it's that she doesn't back down when she feels cornered. She doubles down. So yeah, I got my revenge. Sweet, poetic, and damn satisfying, but now I think I might be in round 2 of this war. To the person who commented, Lauren is the type to light herself on fire just to make you smell the smoke. You win. That's exactly the kind of energy she's bringing right now. I'll keep documenting. Because something tells me this story isn't finished. I thought the basement reveal was the end. I thought she'd disappear to lick her wounds. But Lauren doesn't vanish quietly. She detonates. It started with little things. My mailbox ripped off its post one morning. A week later, someone keyed my truck. 3 deep gouges down the side, like a signature. Then came the flyers. Actual flyers, printed on neon paper taped to telephone poles around the neighborhood. Beware of Daniel, abusive, controlling brother. She even used a grainy photo of me from high school. The neighbors started looking at me funny. And then came the night I'll never forget. I was dead asleep when a crash jolted me awake. I ran to the living room and found my front window shattered, a brick on the floor surrounded by glass. My heart was pounding so hard I couldn't breathe. I checked outside. Nobody there, just the echo of a car engine fading down the street. I knew it was her. Who else would do that? I filed a police report, showed them the peephole footage of her screaming at my door a few nights before. They shrugged, said they couldn't prove the brick was her. Could have been kids. Yeah, sure. Kids who knew exactly where to hit me. The next morning, my phone blew up. Lauren had posted on Facebook, tagging half the family. Daniel kicked me out onto the street after I lost everything. He humiliated me in front of family and friends. I have nowhere to go because he wanted to prove a point. This is what abuse looks like. And like clockwork, people started messaging me. Some defending her, some asking if it was true, some just stirring the pot. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Because I had receipts, videos, photos, proof of her parties, her mess, her breakdown. I wasn't about to stoop to her level, but I wasn't going to let her rewrite history either. That night, I sat in the wreckage of my living room staring at that damn brick. Something about it. It felt symbolic. Like she'd finally crossed into open war. And as much as I hated to admit it, part of me was terrified. But another part, the part that had been told I'd always live in her shadow, that part was done being scared. If she wanted to burn everything down to take me with her, fine. But I'd make sure everyone saw who was really holding the match, and I already knew exactly how to do it. The brick was the last straw. I stared at that shattered window for hours, the cold air creeping into my living room, glass crunching under my boots. That was it. No more waiting for her next move, no more playing defense. It was time to end this. So I did what Lauren could never stand. I put the truth on display. I spent the next 2 days compiling everything. The basement footage, the audio of her screaming at me, photos of the mess, the parties, the broken window, even screenshots of her Facebook posts side by side with time-stamped proof of her trashing my place. A complete dossier of Lauren's chaos. And then I sent it everywhere. To Aunt Marianne, to Carol, to every family member she'd tried to guilt trip, to the neighbors who'd seen the flyers. I even posted a condensed version online with no names, just the story and the evidence. Within hours, people were commenting things like, classic narcissist behavior and, OP, you did the right thing. But the best part? I tagged her in the private family group chat she'd been avoiding. Dropped the whole file. No commentary, no insults, just facts. The fallout was instant. Phone buzzing non-stop. My mom, furious that Lauren had lied. Aunt Marianne telling me she was proud of me for standing up. Even Eric, her ex, messaged me, "Thanks, I feel vindicated." And Lauren? She exploded. Dozens of texts in all caps. "You're obsessed with me. You ruined my life. I hope you rot alone." Then silence. 2 days later, I saw her one last time. She came to get the rest of her stuff, if you can call trash bags and broken hangers stuff. She wouldn't look me in the eye, just stormed past me, loaded her car, and peeled out of the driveway so fast the tires screeched. The house was quiet again. For the first time in months, it actually felt like mine. And here's the poetic part. Every night when I walked down to the basement to do laundry, I passed the corner where she used to sleep. It still smells faintly of the cheap perfume she drowned herself in, but instead of making me angry, it makes me smile. Because Lauren, my sister who swore I'd always live in her shadow, will forever be remembered by our family as the one who ended up in my basement. Not me, her. And that shadow she bragged about? It's gone. If anything, she's the one living in mine now.